welcome to this kickoff event of our Safety Week. I would like just to introduce very quickly what will happen in the next 60 minutes. We will have different speakers sharing their stories, ideas, thoughts about safety and what safety really means to them. And the aim is for you to generate new ideas to get back to the workplace on next Monday when the Safety Week will be over, in order to implement these new tools, these new thoughts, to spread it outside the world, influence others, and have an impact. So I'm very glad to introduce Valerio Battista, Prysmian Group CEO, and Ines Colmse, non-executive board member. Welcome. Valerio, the first question I have is for you. For sure, health and safety is a very important topic. And let me say that sometimes when we talk about safety, it's often perceived as something boring, something that we have to wear, that might be uncomfortable. And it might be something we do just because people tell us to do. So what's your thought about that? What's the meaning that safety has for you?
As the leader of this organization, since from the beginning of my mandate, I have been convinced that this company had the potential to be great. To make Prysmian successful and healthy has always been my highest priority. Greatness is held up by the principle that the company has to always guarantee safe working conditions. On the other side, people that contribute with their passion and dedication always care about their own safety and safety of others. The world in which we live is often a risky place, and therefore we need safety rules to help protect ourselves. It's true that you may think these rules are just words on paper, perhaps even suggestions that can be occasionally ignored, and you may even think that some rules are annoying and useless. You may wear your seatbelt 1,000 times without an accident or injury, with seemingly no reason for wearing it, but just one click one day may be enough to save your life. And only in that moment, when something really happens, we understand that we should have done something to avoid it. Safety is not simply a priority. Safety should be our constant state of being, from which we construct everything else. Safety is like breathing.
Thank you, Valerio. You described safety in a very interesting way. As you said, it's not just a priority, but it's like breathing. So what I understand is that safety should really become a value for us. Ines, talking to you in the last days, I understood you really have a thought about that. Can you share with us what safety value as a value means for you and what a safety leader is supposed to do?
First of all, it's great to be here today and to see that Prysmian is taking safety so serious. I think that is very important, and to see that there's a whole week on the topic is very positive to me. I come from the steel industry, which is a very dangerous industry, and you would think that safe behavior is obvious in an industry like that. But I learned in my time that even in such a dangerous environment, it is not always obvious. So it's a question of leadership, and it's leadership at every level. It's leadership at board level. It's leadership at top management level. So I'm very happy to be here today with Valerio. But it's also leadership at the plant level, shift leaders, team leaders. Everyone should rally around the topic of safety leadership. That is very important to me.
Thank you, Ines. And Valerio, what about you? What's your meaning of safety leadership?
The safety leader values safety as guiding principle influencing decision and behaviors. I truly believe that a safety leader is someone who sets the rules and allows others to act in accordance, always keeping an eye out for the risky situations. If one should ever occur, a safety leader intervenes, the same way they would with children or family at risk. We recently had an accident in Tianjin, in China. Management made a mistake. Everyone ignored that people were walking in front of the entrance, where the forklift's passage was, instead of using the pedestrian crossing. The first question is, why did not one highlight the clear risk? The second question is, why was the pedestrian crossing being used as a storage for the drums? And the third question that probably answers the second is, why was the pedestrian crossing wrongly designed, clearly being the longest way to get from one side to the other side? Unfortunately, a woman died. Management and workers should have avoided the unsafe working conditions. We cannot wait something happens to understand the importance of safety rules and behaviors. I want you to identify all potential risks and everything that seems dangerous or harmful. I want you all to be safety leaders of yourself and your colleagues.
Thank you, Valerio. What I understand from your words is that being a safety leader also means working in a proactive way, so not waiting for things to happen. And Ines, I know you had an experience where there was an accident in the previous company you worked for. Can you tell us which was the approach of understanding what happened? Because I thought it was really interesting.
Yes, let me give you a bit of context. In my previous job, I was, among others, responsible for a plant in South America. And one day I got a call from the regional responsible saying that there was a bad accident and that a young worker from an outside company had fallen through the roof. And he had fallen 15 meters onto a concrete floor. This is not something you would usually survive. But he was extremely lucky initially in the sense that there were first responders that were totally up to the task and that did exactly the right thing. And I want to applaud them for that. And I want to applaud also the people in Prysmian that are first responders, because that is a very important role and it can be tough. And in this case, they were able to stabilize him and he was taken to the hospital. We immediately started working on the root cause analysis of the accident. And within an hour, it was clear that he was not wearing he was wearing a harness, which was good, but he had not tied the rope, the safety rope, to the harness. So we could have left it at that. We could have said, well, he disregarded a major safety rule and it's his own fault. And we could have done some trainings on working at heights and gone on with our business. But we did not. We decided to really look into the deeper root causes of this accident, see where else things had gone wrong. So we went back hours, days, and weeks before the accident to see what happened. It started with the victim. So in the moment of the accident, it seems as if he had already started his lunch break and he wanted to just go back and pick something up that he had forgotten on the roof. And he figured, well, it's just a couple of meters. I do not need to tie my rope. I'm safe enough. I mean, it's just a couple of meters. So that was the first point. But it was also his colleagues. His colleagues had already left for lunch and had left him alone on the roof. So there was no one looking out for him and telling him to tie his rope. But when we looked closer, we also saw people in our company that had made mistakes. Like the production manager had decided that he wouldn't put a constant supervision for these dangerous works, because he said, well, on that day he had so many orders that he had to fill and he didn't have enough people. So for him, meeting his production numbers was more important than putting this in place. And then the next person we looked into was the safety manager, who on that day was on leave and had given a trainee the task of running the instruction for this outside company. And so he was not fulfilling his job either. But we looked even more closer and went back weeks when finally it was decided to hire this company. And the purchasing manager, who was supposed to find companies doing the different jobs around the plant, had decided that it was too expensive hiring a company that was fulfilling all our safety needs, and had gone with this company that was not up to the same safety standards as this. So you see, when you really go deep, it's not just one person that has made a mistake, which was the victim, but it was also his colleagues, the safety manager, the production manager, and the purchasing manager. So it's a question of culture. It's a culture where production numbers and costs were more important than safety. And this is a bad culture. Safety was not a priority. That was clear. So this is why a young father had almost lost his life. But the good news is that he lives and he fully recovered after a long struggle. And he's able to play with his son. And so that's a good ending, but it could have ended differently.
Thank you, Ines, for sharing your experience. I believe we can really learn from that, from what you said. And I have a last question for you. Is there anything else you would like to share with our people today?
I think what my story illustrates is that safety is not just about the immediate situation, which is very often in a production environment, but it's also something that is relevant for every single person in the company. Yeah, so it's top management, it's Valerio and his team, it's the board, it's regional responsibles, but it's also controlling, it's HR, it's purchasing. So every one of us has a role to play in making sure that every Prysmian employee can come home after a day of work healthy and safe. That's the first part. The second part is, and that's something I learned, is to develop an eye for for an unsafe situation. That means you walk around somewhere and you see a loose piece of metal lying somewhere, or a colleague that doesn't totally follow the procedure because it's easier, someone who doesn't wear safety equipment in the right way. All these things, if you start looking out for that and then speak up, that is important. You can all fulfill your role in being part of the safety culture of this company.
Thank you, Ines. And Valerio, what about you? A last thought for our people today?
I would like you all, we are roughly 30,000 employees in the group, you all to have an eye on your colleagues. If all together we are going to apply very simple rules, most probably we are not going to have so many accidents that may be dangerous for our workers, for our people, and for our loved one. So, open an eye, suggest and point out the risks that your colleagues are doing. Today, 2.3 million women and men around the world succumb to work-related accidents or diseases every year. This equates to over 6,000 deaths every single day. As Ines said, let's find our role in this, to see the smiles of our loved ones, the beauty of the world, to continue to live our life the way it was intended. So please, keep safe.
Thank you, Valerio. Thank you, Ines, for being here today. It was really a pleasure. Now we are going to launch a very quick video that is, in a certain sense, doing a recap of the main messages we shared, and then we are ready to welcome Prysmian Group COO Massimo Battaini. So we are back again. I'm here with Massimo. The floor is yours. I know you have a very important message for our people today.
Thank you, Daniela. So why this Safety Week? Unfortunately, it seems that this revived attention to safety has been prompted by a tragedy, a huge fatality that occurred in China, in our Tianjin plant a couple of months ago, where a person died. I believe we cannot wait for these dramatic events to realize that we have to take safety more seriously. I think we all agree that when it comes to safety, we cannot accept compromises, shortcuts. When it comes to safety, we have to do the right things. Let me make one more point here. We have to do the right things not because we have set safety in objectives in our MBOs and therefore we have a monetary incentive to pursue safety. We have to do the right things because we authentically care about people, because the life and well-being of our employees is important to us, because safety is the key value in our company. Safety for us is not about gaining approvals and certificates confirming that we are compliant to safety laws. Safety is about real facts, and real facts mean to achieve the goal of 0 injuries and 0 accidents. During COVID time, we've been quite successful at preserving people's safety. And by protecting people, we could pursue business continuity and company performances. But today the context is different. We want to pursue safety at the workplace not because there are some incidental business benefits correlated to it. We want to pursue safety at the workplace no matter what. We have to do it for us, for all the people who work in this company, be they employees or external contractors, permanent or temporary. We have to do it, whatever it takes, no matter how much money we have to spend to remove risk from our operations. Safety cannot be boiled down to a matter of money. Safety is a complex equation. Many are the variables which come into play. Safety is behavior, culture, people focus, mindset, procedures, team spirit, and care for each other. It is a complex equation to solve. But we at Prysmian know how to solve complex equations, don't we? In our company, we tackle and solve challenges far more demanding and complicated than this one. So how can it be that we are not able to succeed with safety and do something good for us? I don't know the answer. All I know is that from now onwards, safety is a must and zero accident is the goal we are set to achieve. But this takes a team effort. This goal is not in the hands of a few individuals. This is an effort everybody is required to make. And I see this week as a fundamental step to strengthen and reinforce our commitment to safety.
Thank you, Massimo. Let me just mention again one thing that was interesting for me. So you compared safety, saying it's a sort of a complex equation. And I could see from your words, could feel from your words that you really believe we can make it. So thank you for this message. I believe it's a great challenge, but the beginning of an interesting journey. Thank you again for being here with us, Massimo.
You're welcome. Thank you to all.
Let's now welcome Andrea Forzan, HSE Director from WeBuild Group, who will bring his experience to our Kickoff event. WeBuild is an Italian industrial group specialized in the construction and civil engineering business, headquartered in Milan.
At the root of everything, there are fundamental but invisible elements. Atoms in the universe. Water for growth. Love in life. Colors in a painting. Musical notes in a symphony. Safety in every moment. We know that safety is fundamental in every action, in every moment, for everyone. Safety is life. Value our health and safety way.
I'm here with Andrea Forzan. Welcome, Andrea.
Ciao Daniela, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks to you for being here today with us. I have a first question for you. As just looking at the intro video, we really could feel the complexity of your environment, of your company. And can you tell us a bit more about how you manage HSE within WeBuild Group?
Thanks for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here and share our experience with you. As you probably saw in this short video, we have a large variety of activities. We are involved in projects requiring the construction of railways, underground metro lines, major hydroelectric power plants, including dams, in a very challenging environment. Each project is very different from the previous one. Every time we start a new project, we have to create a new team, we have to define new programs and engage a lot of people. We also had a construction site with up to 15,000 workers, most of the time new to our organization and coming from different countries, so with different safety culture. I would say that only this in itself poses a lot of challenges, as you can imagine. In our project, we also have heavy vehicles. We are working in underground. We are working in tunneling with confined space. We are also working in city center with a lot of interaction with the public traffic and the community, and also in some cases also in very challenging weather conditions, moving from Africa with a very hot weather up to the Nordics with a cold climate. Really frequently working in this remote location, the concept of safety is not so developed, and most of the time also the authorities or the industry as overall is not so involved in the safety of the activities that are ongoing in their country. This is meaning that what we are doing has to come from ourselves most of the time. We are also working in joint venture, and working in joint venture is meaning making agreement all the time on most of the activities we have to do, including also safety programs. Sometimes we are benefiting from working with partners that has already strong safety program within their organization, but most of the time this is not the case. We are working with partners that needs our support and needs strong development of their safety culture. And so this is another challenge we have to face in most of our projects. And last but not least, I would say that most of the construction projects are done with subcontractors. In our organization, we can say that we are involving more than 30,000 workers coming from our subcontractors, and working with them for us is like partnering with them. We are trying to have a positive approach, creating partnership with them, at least around safety. But I would say that we are also very demanding with them in requiring the compliance with our requirements, with our standards when they need to be forced to do that.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm really wondering about your journey, your safety journey. So in our conversation when we met the first time, you told me about a lot of initiatives you are doing towards building a safety culture. Can you share a bit with us?
I would say that our group has a long story of implementation of a safety management system in various forms, but I would say that the real step change in the way we are managing safety occurred at the end of 2017, when our top management met in our headquarters in Rome to design the new health and safety way, our new safety vision for the future, the way we want to be in the future. In that occasion, the strategic path was defined by our top management, and since then the implementation of the program has been consistent and continuous within the entire organization. In that occasion and with this program, we are overcoming the concept of safety as a priority, but we want really to embed within our organization, within all our management, safety as a value, as a permanent value, as a core value. And this is the reason we gave value name to the entire program we are implementing within our organization. This program is based mainly on two levels of strategy. The first one is a top-down program based on the fact that we believe that it's the leadership team that has the capability to shape the safety culture within an organization and is capable to influence the behaviors of the entire chain of command. We cannot really think to a safe working environment without a strong safety leadership that can shape the culture of the entire organization. Since the startup of this program, we already facilitated more than 100 workshops across the entire organization worldwide, involving more than 1,500 of our managers. The second level of our strategy address the workers' engagement. So we want to let our workers to become leaders and a key part of our safety program. And we moved from a corporate approach in we were dictating or giving direction to all the construction site on the activities to be done, to an approach where projects and teams are free to decide and to define their own safety program. And this gave them an opportunity to express their feeling or their belief on safety. And with this type of approach, we came out with 100 or 1,000 of events around our organization, a lot of safety awards, celebration, theatrical shows that has been implemented in some of our projects, very emotional. And I would say that probably also with this safety week you are organizing in Prysmian, you will achieve the same result, engaging the people, let them speak about safety. In our organization, we had 100 of people that were willing to tell us their stories, sometimes a success story in which they did something good, but also unsuccessful stories in which they have been involved in accidents, not always work-related, but also in the private life. And this has been very positive in ensuring a widespread of our commitment and the commitment of the management. But I would say that any activities we do worldwide would remain invisible if we is not supported by a very wide and strong communication campaign. This is the reason we had a very positive collaboration with our communication department. They gave us the opportunity to tell everybody what was going on around the world. We developed several emotional videos, poster, booklets. The intranet, in our intranet was created a dedicated channel to call it value, which people were willing to tell us their stories. And I would say that the response in this approach has been amazing. We were not expecting people to be so willing and open to tell us their feeling about safety, and not to receive safety as a boring stuff, but really to approach it in a different manner.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing your experience. There are a few keywords that are stuck in my mind. So you mentioned engagement, you mentioned all this cultural aspect. Is there anything else you did that you can share with us?
Yes, Daniela. What I just said for sure was not enough anyway in our strategy. In addition to the soft part of our strategy, we had to continuously look at our construction methods, our plans and equipment, updating them, using them in the best manner, selecting the best equipment to be provided to our people. We also invested a lot in competency training, technical safety training, going beyond the legal requirement. Most of the time, people are satisfied when we are in compliance with the legislation, but we discovered that this is not enough, in particular also in Italy. So we had to invest a lot in this kind of aspect. We also activated a strong review of all the events occurred in our organization, because it was not enough to revise an event locally, but we started a process in which any accident occurring in one construction site is shared with the others. And we're speaking more than 100 working sites worldwide. So this for us was very important to ensure that the same events cannot occur in other projects. And last but not least, I would say that we are continuously looking for innovation to be adopted in our projects. Today, there are a lot of opportunities to reduce the exposure of the risk, the exposure of the workers to risk. This is very important, and we, as developed companies, as important companies, we really must invest in innovation to ensure that our people are working with the right equipment and are located in a proper position when they have to perform their job. So I would say that this is another way in which companies like our own have to invest a lot and continuously search for innovation. In any case, I would say that our journey is not over yet. Any new project for us we acquire is a new challenge, new team, new partner, new subcontractor, new activities to be performed. And so we always have to put all our effort to guide any new project in the right direction. But we're really convinced that the stronger our safety culture will be, the easier it is to manage our new project and new challenge safely. So, having said that, I really want to thank you for this opportunity, and that's it.
Thank you, Andrea. It was super interesting. So to the communication engagement, you were adding super important things. You mentioned training, you mentioned innovation. So I believe we are also on a journey as Prysmian Group. We can probably learn a lot from you. So thanks for sharing your experience. And thank you again for being here.
Thanks to you.
I would like now to introduce Brandon. He's living in Iowa. I met him a few weeks ago and he told me his story. He has been an electrician for 19 years and in 2011 he got injured and he survived. He's going to be here with us next week, but I would really like to introduce him to you with a short video.
When I first got out of bed and they made me get up and go into the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror and I saw what my face looked like for the first time. And I remember I came out of the bathroom and I looked at my wife and I said, "Just leave." And she said, "What do you mean, just leave?" I said, "Look at my face. You think this is ever gonna heal?" I didn't want to live. I knew what I needed to do. I didn't want to do it, but I needed to get out of that hospital. I needed to get my gun and I needed to get this over with. I didn't feel like I had a choice. I was 100% sure what I thought I needed to do.
They took me back into the room where my daughter was, which I left with a complete stranger. And all of a sudden I just heard him screaming, like a scream that I've never heard, like worse than a horror movie.
I'm Brandon Schrader. August 24th, 2011, I was in an arc flash accident that changed my life. I didn't have my arc flash suit, I didn't have my proper safety gear, and I thought I could just go ahead and disconnect a wire, something I've done a million times. So I went ahead and tried to disconnect that wire, and I ended up burning 16% of my body.
And I was at a place where I have been a million times, and I remember it took me about a half an hour just to get to the interstate.
The morphine would temporarily take the pain away, but I think more than the physical pain was watching my wife and family come in there and look at me and look in the mirror and look at my face and not know if I was ever going to look like I looked before my accident.
There was no sleep. I got more sleep with my newborn than I did when I was at the hospital. It was horrible. Thinking back on it, I really don't know how I did it. Or how I got through. I just knew that all I was doing was getting through and he had to endure all that pain. So Raina came home after 4 weeks and I can't tell you how excited we were. And it wasn't my husband that was coming home. It was the shell of the man, unfortunately, that went through this accident. He got super depressed, barely got off the couch. Having him home was way worse than having him in the hospital. It took him a long time to get to that point where he said, no matter what, I'm getting my hand back, I'm getting my life back.
Here we go. Oh, she got it. So I'm just happy I get to be a dad. My daughter gets to grow up with a dad. None of this would have been possible had I not survived that accident. When I first got contacted about speaking about my accident, I really didn't want to do this. Since then, I never dreamed it would grow into what it's grown into. I've presented for a lot of major companies, from EMS to firefighters to electrical workers, factory workers, office workers, and that's really my goal with this presentation, is to make people believe in safety. I never thought this would happen to me. I never thought that one day I'd be riding in a helicopter. When you leave the door in the morning, you don't think, I'm not coming home tonight, I'm going to be in the hospital. No one thinks that's going to happen to them. You're too well trained. I used to think safety was just common sense. Safety meetings, who needs safety meetings? Safety's common sense, and that's not the case. So I'll do this presentation for people as long as the phone keeps ringing.
So Brandon perfectly introduces our next topic, that is about safety at work. And I'm pleased to introduce Giacomo Sofia, head of Prysmian Group Business Operation. Hi, Giacomo. Welcome.
I guess, Daniela, this story describes really very well how the subject that we want to talk about during the next week might really impact the life of a person, of an individual like Brandon and his family. And this brings us quickly to the hard topic that we want to discuss today, which is about safety in the workplace. In a few minutes, we'll have with us 3 of our plant managers, with whom we'll be discussing about the practical issues that every day we need to face in the shop floor, daily life of the factories. But first of all, I would like to ask all of us, where are we today? Where are we starting from when it's about safety in the workplace? And to give you a baseline, to give you a reference of what we are talking about, I want to introduce you to 2 topics. The first one is a number, is an index that is internationally recognized and that measures the number of events in a shop floor that cause an accident that will imply at least 1 day off job, off duty for the person involved. And then that number of events is, in this index, is normalized to the worked hours in that given factory, with the objective of giving the ability to benchmark this index between factories of different size. The index is called index of frequency, is typically referred as IF, and obviously the highest this index, the worse the performance. We as a company, we used to measure now this index since a few years. And over the course of the years, we definitely scored an improvement on how the company is doing in that sense. But if you look for a second at the picture that is on the screen now, you can see that in the last 3 years, actually, this index is like plateauing and eventually this year worsening. You see that in 2019, the index was 1.32, in 2020, 1.22, but now this year to date, September, we are at 1.59. Where I want to recall your attention is the fact that more mature industries that are recognized for having already a good level of practice in managing safety at work, typically score this index below 1. So for us, there's still a long way to go. Typically, this index is also compounded by a second one that is called index of gravity and referred as IG, which fundamentally introduces another element, which is the length of the absence from work of persons that have been involved in an accident. And also in that case, we are measuring it since a few years, and we are reaching a certain plateau. Actually, again, in this graph, you see how this year, again, we are worsening in that sense. And also here, we have a certain gap from industries that are more mature in managing safety in the workplace. But let me give you another reference, something that probably is closer to a quick understanding. Every year in Prysmian Group, we register about 400 accidents. Accidents that again imply the fact that the person involved will be obliged to miss at least 1 working day. And think about that. Next week, we'll spend a full week talking about safety in the workplace, among us, across the world, in all Prysmian Group. And during that time, during that week, probably, statistically, 8 colleagues of ours will be injured. To some extent, they will have an accident and they will be missing their job for some days. The second point of reference that I want to give you is what is referred to as the pyramid of Heinrich. This is a theoretical exercise to describe how events should be reported and scored in a factory, which is used to a proper management of safety at work. And if you bear with me for a second, I will try to explain the meaning of it. You see that at the top of this pyramid, there are the lost time accidents. just below the accident that did not imply any loss of time, so meaning that the person who was hurt could go back to work fairly quickly. And below that, there are the so-called near misses, so events that happen in the factory that did not end up in any accident for any individual, but might have been dangerous and might have implied an accident. And just below that again, the so-called unsafe conditions, so situations where basically nothing has happened, but people were able to spot out circumstances in which the working conditions were not proper and eventually potentially exposing people to danger. Now, in a mature environment, there is a high number of unsafe conditions that are spotted out. There is a fairly good number of near misses that are reported and properly investigated. And then there is, according to these statistics, a certain number, of course, of accidents as well with lost time or non-lost time. But the ratio between those events stays more or less as this pyramid is describing. Now, in Prysmian Group, we have a formal process where we know how to record and report near misses, and we know how to report unsafe conditions. But we don't have a level of maturity such as the ratio between those different items stands as the pyramid would require. We don't have yet a real measuring of the overall perimeter in that sense. We are starting just now. But if hypothetically we're now projecting how the overall Prysmian Group would be in terms of this pyramid, probably the pyramid would look like the one that you see now on the screen on the side of the theoretical one. For that reason, I expect all of you to be proactive, take initiative, and report all the unsafe conditions that you think you have spotted out on the shop floor, or properly report all the near misses that you have been witnessing. Speak to your supervisor, speak with the leadership in the factory, talk to the HC director, talk to the plant manager. It's very important that we become consistent in this process. It's only enlarging the base of that pyramid that we will create the conditions to reduce the number of accidents at the top of it. And so we need to shift our culture as a company from a culture of managing accidents to a culture of preventing them.
Thank you, Giacomo. I believe the key word that you just mentioned is proactivity, right? So to move from a reactive safety culture that we can see represented here to a more proactive, that was also mentioned by the CEO, our group CEO, Valerio Battista, at the very beginning of our event today. So thank you for this very practical overview, because I think we really need it. And it's now time to connect with our 3 plant directors that are connecting from different locations around the world. So let's welcome them. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Arnaud. Hi, Mohamed. How are you? I hope all good, and thank you for being with us today. So, Sarah, I have a first question for you. We went through with Giacomo about more practical things, so what we can really do in our day-by-day towards safety. And the question I have for you is, how can we communicate at best?
Thank you, Daniela. As leaders, I believe we need to do more than talk about safety. We must communicate safety in all that we do. We should remember our safety beliefs are reinforced through our actions to others. We need to use our daily interactions inside and out of the facility to relate safety behaviors for everyone. People are motivated more intrinsically when they can relate the benefits to their own personal lives. And this is done when we communicate safety holistically, connecting actions inside our facilities and beyond.
Thank you, Sarah. Arnaud, now I come to you. So the question for you is about challenges. So what's, according to you, the main challenges that we have in safety?
Hello, Daniela, thank you. You know, I often hear that company must make safety as a top priority, but I do believe that a commitment to safety much more deeper than simply being a priority. I think a commitment to safety must be a value, must be a core value that drive all our action, like when you have to disassemble a course head, when you have to test a cable, when you have to transport a drum. That's the main challenge that we have, being sure that every member of a team, from the bottom to the top, in professional life or even personal life, is naturally focused on safety, and naturally is an important word because that's really mean that is focused without any additional power and additional attention, naturally focused.
Thank you, Arnaud. Mohamed, when it comes to you, I would like to ask you, what's the daily actions that you put in place every day in your plant?
Hi, Daniel. Always there is many ways to improve safety in the workplace and in the plant. It is really starting from our belief and the message which we are giving to our people that the factory is really our second home, and we are spending most of our time in the plant. It is very clear we should have a suitable workplace, consider all the requirements of safety. Improving safety is a continuous improvement, which requires strong commitment and from different people and from different levels. Let me share with you some good practice what we are following. Safety is the first thing we talk about in our daily meeting and also in the shift change in the factory and also even when we are entering to the plants. And just to support us in this practice, we have created very nice information center at the entrance of the plant, just to make sure everyone is passing through this one and get updated. Also, the safety visual reminder, and here I mean the poster and the smart TV, training and awareness program, and it is very, very important to be clear and simple. The checklist and the success auditing system where everyone is getting involved. Again, it's continuous improvement process and a lot of action can be done day to day.
Great, thanks a lot for your thoughts. Let's move to the second part of the roundtable. I'm very curious to understand your point of view about safety culture that was mentioned by Arnaud. Arnaud, you said that safety culture is something that is growing from inside. So I'm really curious to understand what's your point of view? How can we grow a safety culture in Prysmian Group?
A strong safety culture is built with everyone participating. You know, we often call that the courage to care. But if we think about like what is the courage to care is to sometimes put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to help protect and care for your teammates or other people. You know, it's the courage to show a safer way to approach a task, to offer assistance when you see someone in need. And you know what? I believe that we shift our safety culture forward when we decide it's worth the effort, it's worth the courage to actively participate.
Yes, I agree with you, Sarah. Also, to build a strong safety culture, we need to develop a system for open communication involving all the people through the company, or as it's called also the two-way communication. It is from the management to the employees to providing the leadership and leading by example, and also from the employees to the management to communicate the finding, the incident, or the near miss. A good communication in the workplace, it will help us really to achieve the safety goals and to prevent the incident. And this is really, it will be done only through teamwork.
That's interesting. That's interesting because both of you are speaking about new things, but I don't really think that everything is new. We already have a strong and good culture in terms of quality, in terms of efficiency, and our team are already able to be focused very well with good results on our cable on our machine, and for sure something has to be changed. Is not the way to be focused, is where we have to be focused, and now we have to be turned on ourselves and on our team and on the people, clearly on the people.
Yes, Arnold. One thing is also mentioned also by Giacomo that he mentioned that we have a high number of near misses and unsafe conditions. But why employees don't report this near misses? Near misses should be really taken like a serious as a warning that something is wrong or something needs to be corrected. Let us ask ourselves how many near misses we receive related to the last accident or reported. What are the barriers to near miss reporting? And how to inspire and motivate our people to report the near miss. Let us work to find the gap and to improve the system.
We should work towards a proactive environment, you know, where people are identifying risks and taking actions to help eliminate them. to start the shift of the conversation.
That's true, but I think that safe condition is the easy things, but we always have some danger. Best condition is not possible. Even when my children are coming to school, there are they could have some issues, they could have some risk, and how we can fight this risk, I think, by behavior, but this is difficult. Behavior modification, behavior to change the behavior of the people in order to focus them on the safety instead of on the usual subject. This is difficult this is the difficult point. And you are true, Sarah. I think the courage to care, the courage to change the things. This is the main strong point where we have to use, where we have to work in order to change the behavior of the people to be focused naturally on the safety.
Thanks a lot. And Giacomo, what's your point of view?
Daniela, I think it has been a very interesting discussion. Guys, I really appreciate your contribution into it. I think it's very relevant. Is the voice of our plant managers that are telling us the truth, how the reality of the everyday life on the workplace is. And what do I get from your opinions, guys? I hear a lot of content there. As usual, you are grounding us very much on the topic. But I take a couple of things from there. One is behavior. Sarah has mentioned it. Mohamed took on it. Is essential. Caring about the others, caring about ourselves, and being focused on how we behave. And then what I take also from Mohamed is the importance of, in fact, injecting the element of proactiveness in that, as I was mentioning in my speech at the very beginning. Essential. We need to really change gear from accepting the status quo and trying to mitigating things into entering into a preventive kind of attitude and mentality. And finally, Arnaud, I guess you touched on a very valid point that I trust very much. When we are focused as a company, we typically excel. We don't even do well, we excel. We have demonstrated it in many times in many fields. When we are focused, we have clear KPIs and targets. We follow up on actions. We close the gaps. We always get there. So as we have demonstrated to be able to do, for example, in manufacturing efficiency, just to mention one, for what we are widely recognized as being a benchmark for everybody in our industry, how did we get there? We know what to do. We measure things. We have the tools. We follow up. We have clear in mind our objectives. Let's do the same for safety, and we will get to the same level of excellence. Thank you, guys, for this interesting roundtable.
Yes, I completely agree. Giacomo, I would like to close this roundtable just mentioning one thing that you said at the very beginning of your speech. You said, next week, while we will be enjoying and learning about safety in our Safety Week, most probably we will have 8 accidents in our factories, in our Prysmian group. And I would really like to underline that we are not talking about numbers, we are talking about people. And with this, I would like to introduce our next speaker, the Chief HR Officer of Prysmian Group, Fabrizio Ruchman. But before, let's see a very short introduction video. are back here with Fabrizio Ruchman. I know, Fabrizio, you have a message for our people.
Thank you, Daniela. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. COVID is not over, but we hope we are on the right track to exit this situation. As you probably know, health and safety are top of mind within Prysmian Group. Great companies care about their employees. How can we talk about engaging our people more if we don't care of their health and safety? Prysmian Group has truly done its best during this terrible period to protect its employees by providing tests, masks, vaccinations, assistance, and guidelines. Within our journey to become a more sustainable company, Prysmian this year has announced the climate ambition and the social ambition. The social ambition outlines how we will make our company a better place to work. And it's also about collaboration with the many communities across which our 104 plants are located. The ambition covers inclusion, gender, race and ethnicity, minorities representation, diversity, digitalization, upskilling, and engagement. But above all, it's about safety. The ambition will speed up the cultural change across our factories, train our people better, and empower manufacturing leaders who are crucial for its success. We are speaking not only of direct employees, but of our many external collaborators who work with us every day. We cannot have other factories experience what has happened in China recently. Safety indicators will be more included in management remuneration targets, and this Global Digital Safety Week will raise awareness across the group. The human element is crucial to preventing accidents. Leadership, communication, setting good examples, correcting errors, creating a safety atmosphere. These behaviors will help us avoid accident, and you are key to make this happen. Here you can see the program for the Safety Week. You see more than 60 webinars will be planned next week. All our plans have been engaged, 5 major topics, and more than 50 countries and nationalities involved. The 8th of November is Monday. We will talk of safety culture. On Tuesday, we will talk of the different dimension of leadership in safety. On Wednesday, we will talk of safety intervention. On Thursday, we will speak of the human and organizational factors in safety. Finally, on Friday, we will speak of the safety ambassadors. Here you can see it's a very wide program, and we fully encourage all of you to participate next week and build a better place to work. Thank you.
A big topic, a full agenda. And as I promised at the very beginning, I think in these 60 minutes, we really had all you as speakers sharing your thoughts, ideas. So I really hope you got the inspiration. You will get the inspiration next week. And I would also like to thank all the people that are behind the stage that are making this possible. So see you next week at the Safety Week. But before, I would like to share with you a last video, I promise. And it's about some people within the organization that wanted to share their thought about safety. Thank you.
Per me è uno stile di vita, fa parte del mio DNA.
To be safe is to be responsible for your own life and your family.
I am thankful that I can say I live in the 8th safest country in the world.
La seguridad para mí significa salvaguardar mi integridad en todos los sentidos.
For me, safety means being aware of what you are doing.
Can meet my family at home safely.
Безопасность, прежде всего, это уверенность в том, что ситуация, в которой ты сейчас находишься, poi sentiamo a controllo.
È un valore, un impegno sociale che riguarda me ma anche tutte le persone che mi circondano.
السلامة هي أسلوب حياة لحماية أنفسنا وحماية من حولنا من المخاطر المتعلقة بالعمل، فإن العمل في بيئة آمنة يضمن لنا الزيادة في الإنتاجية والحفاظ على العمالة الماهرة والارتقاء بمستوى الوعي في الصحة والسلامة والبيئة.
Building a safety culture refers to my personality profile.
I think we're all equally responsible for creating a safety culture, whether it's by complying with these safety rules or by putting our hand up when we see, hear, or feel something that doesn't seem right.
It is leading by example, following the safety policies and procedures that we have in place.
Atualmente sou representante dos trabalhadores para a segurança e saúde no trabalho, portanto tento estar atento para eventuais riscos que existam na fábrica.
Берегите себя, будьте здоровы. Я желаю вам безопасности и здоровья.
Of course, my family and having good health allows me to work and income for them.
In my professional life, the good feeling of success in work makes me happy.
Ouvir uma bela música, poder fazer uma caminhada no parque.
La mia famiglia, sicuramente, prima di tutto.